Hey, have you ever felt like you were living in two completely different worlds at the same time? Like the person you are at work and the person you are with your closest friends? That tension, that duality? Now, imagine that split personality not in one man, but in a pair of identical twins, and then projected onto an entire city at its most vibrant and chaotic moment. That's where our story begins. Welcome back. I'm Ibnul J. Farabi, and this is Underworld Kings, the rise and fall from Light, Not Studios. Today, we're diving into episode 28, the Kray Twins, gangsters, celebrities, and the corruption of swinging London. Picture London in the 1960s. The air is buzzing with the sound of the Beatles, miniskirts are the new uniform, and photography studios on Carnaby Street are capturing a cultural revolution. It's swinging London, a city obsessed with youth, celebrity, and a thrilling, reckless freedom. But just beneath that glossy, colorful surface, in the shadowy backrooms of East End pubs, another kind of empire was being built. An empire run by two men who understood, better than anyone, that image was power. Ronnie and Reggie Kray weren't just gangsters. They were the dark mirror of the celebrity-obsessed 60s, and they used that obsession to corrupt an entire city. They were born in 1933 in Hoxton, in the East End. Identical twins. And from the very beginning, they had this almost supernatural bond. They boxed as teenagers, they were sharp dressers, and they had an aura about them, a chilling, unified confidence. After a stint in the army that ended poorly, they came back to London and took over the family protection racket. But their ambitions were bigger than just running a few streets. They saw the old, crumbling gangland of London as an opportunity. While the old guard were brutes in bad suits, the Krays had a vision. They wore tailored three-piece suits, they smiled for the cameras, and they opened glamorous nightclubs. And this is where their story becomes uniquely twisted. They didn't hide from society, they infiltrated it. Their club, the Double R, and later Esmeralda's Barn in posh Knightsbridge, became these bizarre crossroads. In one corner, you might have a famous actor, a politician, or a lord. In the other, Ronnie and Reggie Kray, orchestrating a web of protection rackets, armed robberies, and brutal violence. They weaponized celebrity. Having their picture taken with a star wasn't just vanity. It was a shield. It gave them legitimacy. It made them untouchable. How could the police come after these charming, philanthropic local boys who were friends with celebrities and politicians? The corruption wasn't just about bribing a detective, though they did plenty of that. It was about corrupting the very idea of truth, of making the criminal and the celebrated indistinguishable. Ronnie was the openly psychotic one. He was the one who declared himself the Colonel. He was a paranoid schizophrenic, a homosexual in a violently homophobic era, and he had a terrifying obsession with gangster movies, literally trying to live out the plots. Reggie was the frontman, the thinking twin, they called him. More controlled, the businessman of the pair. But don't be fooled. His violence was just as cold, just more calculated. Together, they were a perfect, terrifying engine. Reggie would make the plan, and Ronnie would provide the unchecked, terrifying force to see it through. Their reign peaked in a period of just a few blood-soaked years. In 1966, to intimidate a rival gangster, they walked into a pub in Whitechapel in broad daylight. Ronnie Kray shot a man named George Cornell in the forehead in front of a room full of witnesses. Cornell had called Ronnie a fat poof. The code of their world demanded a response. But the real shock was what happened after, the silence. The wall of omerta was absolute. Witnesses developed sudden amnesia. The police were stymied. The twins' celebrity shield seemed impenetrable. They had become, in the public imagination, these folk anti-heroes, East End boys who made good, who looked after their own. But the engine of their violence was always turning. The climax came in 1967. Reggie, in a rage over his wife's suicide, lured another associate, Jack the Hat McVitie, to a party. The story goes that McVitie had failed to carry out a murder the twins had paid him for. That night, in a basement flat, Reggie Kray tried to stab McVitie with a carving knife. When the knife stuck in the victim's neck, Ronnie held McVitie from behind and told his brother to finish him off. Reggie did, with a second knife. This wasn't a strategic killing like Cornell's. This was frenzied, messy, and it left a trail. The shield finally began to crack. The man who finally brought them down was Detective Superintendent Leonard Nipper Reed. He understood that to beat the Krays, he couldn't just fight their crimes. He had to dismantle their myth. He had to attack their image. He assembled a small, secret team, bypassing the corrupted corners of the Metropolitan Police. His breakthrough wasn't finding a new body. It was finding a weak link in their inner circle and using the one thing the Krays craved, their own legend, against them. He got associates to talk by convincing them the twins were finished, that their empire was a facade. In 1968, the bubble finally burst. Ronnie and Reggie Kray were arrested. At their trial in 1969, the spectacle was complete. They were celebrities to the very end, with crowds gathered outside the Old Bailey. They were found guilty and sentenced to life in prison, with a recommendation they serve at least 30 years. They were 35 years old. Swinging London was over, and its dark reflection was led away in handcuffs. Thinking about this from my perspective, as an engineer and a storyteller here in New York, what fascinates me isn't just the violence. It's the system they built. They engineered a social machine. They took the raw materials of post-war London, the longing for glamour, the crumbling class structures, the new power of tabloid photography, and they built a perfect, sinister brand. They were early masters of PR in the most horrifying way possible. They understood that perception could be more powerful than reality, that a well-placed photo could do more than a well-aimed bullet. In that way, they weren't just gangsters. They were dark pioneers of the modern celebrity industrial complex. The Kray Twins didn't just operate in swinging London. They helped define its darkest edge. They proved that corruption isn't always a backroom deal. Sometimes, it's a flashbulb pop and a smile in a crowded nightclub. It's the chilling moment when crime becomes culture and the monster becomes a celebrity. They were the kings of an underworld that they convinced everyone was just part of the show. Thanks for listening to this episode of Underworld Kings. If these stories of power, image, and downfall resonate with you, please do share the podcast with someone else who'd enjoy it. You can find more deep dive documentaries like this from our entire team at Light Not Studios. Visit us at lightnotstudios.com. I'm Ibnul J. Farabi. Until next time, take care.